All right, so you want to be an investment advisor. Huh. Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to do a deep dive on how to prepare for that interview. We've got this awesome RoleCatcher Career Guide right here and a whole bunch of sample interview questions. We're going to use these to give you all the tips and tricks you'll need.
Yeah, and we're going to make this deep dive super practical so you can walk into that interview feeling totally confident and prepared to ace it.
Perfect. So let's get right into it. One of the most common questions you'll get in an investment advisor interview is, can you explain your understanding of investment management and the role of an investment advisor? Like, what exactly does an investment advisor even do?
It's a great question to start with because it really gets at the heart of the role. You want to make sure you understand the fundamentals here. Investment management is basically the science of making money grow. And the investment advisor is like the architect who designs the blueprint for how that's going to happen.
Okay, so it's not just about picking stocks and hoping for the best. There's a real strategy involved. And every client's going to have different needs and goals.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of fiduciary duty comes in, which is a really big deal in this profession. It means you're legally and ethically obligated to always act in the best interests of your client, even if it means recommending an investment that makes you less money.
Wow, that's huge. It really shows how much trust is involved in this relationship. So when you're answering this question, should you talk about fiduciary duty?
Oh, absolutely. It shows the interviewer that you understand the ethical core of this job. And to make your answer even stronger, don't just say you understand it. Give an example. Like maybe you had a client who wanted to invest in something super risky, but you advised them against it because it wasn't in line with their long-term goals.
That's a great tip. It's always better to tell a story than just state facts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the interviewer wants to dig a little deeper, and they ask something like, how would you handle a client who disagrees with your recommendation? What would you say to that?
Well, first, you want to show that you have great communication skills. You need to show that you can have tough conversations with clients while still being empathetic and professional. So start by acknowledging their concerns. You could say something like, I understand why you might be hesitant. It's great that you're really thinking this through. And then you can go back and explain the logic behind your recommendation using clear and simple language.
I see. So it's all about being patient and understanding where they're coming from, and then guiding them through the decision-making process, kind of like a financial therapist.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just managing money, you're managing emotions too. Sometimes that means having tough conversations. But if you can show that you can handle those conversations gracefully and professionally, you'll definitely stand out.
Okay, let's try another common question. How about this one? How do you stay updated on the latest market trends and investment opportunities? Seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing it's not enough to just say you read the Wall Street Journal, right?
You're right, it's not enough. You need to show that you're committed to continuously learning and growing your knowledge. So yeah, mention that you read the Wall Street Journal or the Financial Times, but also talk about industry conferences that you've attended or plan to attend.
Oh yeah, this RoleCatcher guide actually has a whole section on the top industry conferences. And it even gives tips on how to network at those events. This guide is seriously packed with good stuff.
It really is. And here's another tip. Mention a recent market trend that's piqued your interest and explain why you think it's significant. Like maybe it's the rise of ESG investing or the growing interest in alternative assets.
I like that. It shows that you're not just reading headlines, but you're actually thinking critically about how these trends are going to shape the future of investing. Okay, ready for a tougher one?
Bring it on.
All right, here it is. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult investment recommendation to a client? These behavioral questions are always tricky.
Yeah, they can be tough, but there's a formula for answering them well. First, pick a real situation from your past experience that really shows off your problem-solving skills and your ethical decision-making. Maybe it was a time when you had to advise a client against an investment that they were really attached to, or maybe you had to break some bad news about the market.
So you want to choose a story that shows you can make tough calls while still putting the client's needs first.
Exactly. And when you tell the story, make sure it's structured clearly. Talk about the challenge, the steps you took to analyze the situation, why you made the recommendation that you did, and then what the outcome was.
You know what? This RoleCatcher guide actually has a whole section on the STAR method for answering behavioral questions.
Yeah.
Situation, task, action, result. It's a great way to keep your stories organized and make sure you're hitting all the important points.
That's a great resource. And don't be afraid to get into the details. Yeah. Talk about the financial ratios you looked at, the market trends you considered, the specific advice you gave. The interviewer wants to see how your brain works.
Yeah, and I bet they also want to see how you handle the human side of things too. Like, what if they ask, how did the client react to your recommendation?
That's where you get to show off your empathy and your communication skills. You want to describe how you really listen to the client's concerns, acknowledge their emotions, and then explained your reasoning in a way that made sense to them. And if they push back, don't be afraid to talk about that too. It's a chance to show that you can handle difficult conversations with professionalism and grace.
That's great advice. Turn a potentially negative situation into a positive demonstration of your skills. Okay, I want to shift gears for a second, talk about this awesome AI-powered interview practice tool from RoleCatcher. It's crazy how it analyzes your answers and gives you personalized feedback.
It's pretty amazing technology. It's like having a virtual interview coach right in your pocket. You can practice answering all these tough questions, get feedback on your content, your delivery, even your body language. It'll help you iron out any kinks and make sure you're feeling totally confident and polished when you go into that real interview.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into that a little bit later. For now, let's get back to these interview questions. Here's another one that often comes up. How do you evaluate investment opportunities and determine their potential for growth? This one seems like it really requires you to flex your financial expertise.
It definitely does. This is your chance to shine as a financial detective. Think of it like solving a puzzle. You want to lay out your thought process very clearly. Do you start with a big picture analysis of the overall economy? Do you dive deep into industry-specific trends? What are the key indicators you look for?
I bet there's no one right way to do it. Right? It probably depends on the specific investment opportunity and how much risk the client is comfortable with.
That's right. You want to show that you're adaptable and you can tailor your approach to each situation. But you also want to demonstrate that you have a solid framework for evaluating investments. So talk about the tools and resources you rely on. Do you use any financial modeling software? Do you read company reports? Do you do in-depth competitor analysis?
This RoleCatcher guide actually has a whole section on fundamental analysis and technical analysis. It explains all the different approaches to evaluating investments. I'm going to reread this. It's a great refresher.
It is a fantastic resource. And remember, the interviewer might follow up with something like, can you walk me through a specific example of an investment opportunity you recently evaluated? So have a good example ready to go.
Yeah, makes sense. Pick something relevant to the job and something that shows you can think critically. Okay, let's switch gears to a question that's more about the human side of the business. Something like, how do you manage client relationships and maintain their trust? This one feels like it's just as much about soft skills as it is about financial knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. This is your chance to highlight your ability to build relationships, communicate effectively, and really foster those long-term connections with clients. Talk about your active listening skills and explain how you tailor your communication style to each client's individual needs. Some clients might want detailed reports and frequent updates, while others might prefer a more hands-off approach.
It's about understanding their personality and their communication preferences, just as much as their financial goals.
Exactly. And don't forget about transparency. Clients want to know what's happening with their money, even when the news isn't good. So talk about how you keep them informed. Do you provide regular updates? Do you proactively reach out to address any questions or concerns?
I remember reading in the RoleCatcher guide that transparency is key to building trust, and trust is the foundation of any good client relationship.
That's so true. You want your clients to feel confident that you're looking out for them and that you always have their best interests at heart. All right, here's another question that often comes up. How do you manage risk within a client's investment portfolio? This one really gets to the heart of your investment philosophy.
Yeah, and it's probably a question where the interviewer is going to be listening very carefully to your answer. They want to see if you understand how to balance maximizing returns with protecting the client's capital.
For sure. Start by explaining your overall approach to managing risk. Do you believe in diversifying across different types of assets? Do you use hedging strategies? Do you generally recommend a long-term investment horizon to ride out any market fluctuations? Whatever your approach is, explain the reasoning behind it and how you tailor it to each client's risk tolerance and their financial goals.
I bet this is a good place to bring up fiduciary duty again.
Yeah.
Right? Just to emphasize that you're always putting the client's needs first, even if it means taking a more conservative approach.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to get specific. For example, you could say, if a client has a low risk tolerance, I might recommend a higher allocation to bonds and a lower allocation to stocks. I would explain why I'm recommending that and make sure they understand how it could affect their returns.
That's a great example. It shows that you're not just reciting textbook answers, but you can actually apply these principles in a real-world situation.
Speaking of practical advice, can we talk more about that AI-powered interview practice tool from RoleCatcher? I'm dying to know more about how it works.
Well, it's pretty awesome. You can choose from this huge library of interview questions, record your answers, and then the AI will give you instant feedback. It'll analyze what you say, how you say it, and even your body language. It's seriously like having a personal interview coach available 24/7.
That's incredible, especially the body language part. I know I tend to fidget when I'm nervous, so it'd be great to get some feedback on that. I know, me too. The AI can pick up on those little cues that we're not even aware of. And it gives you concrete suggestions for improvement. Like it might tell you to slow down your speech or make more eye contact or use hand gestures to emphasize certain points.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. It's about projecting confidence and authenticity. I can see how that would make a huge difference in an interview.
It really does. And the best part is that the AI is constantly learning and getting better. The more you use it, the more personalized the feedback becomes. It's like having a virtual mentor who's always pushing you to be your best.
That's a total game changer. All right, let's tackle another question that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds. How do you answer the dreaded salary question? When they ask, what are your salary expectations?
Yeah.
That one always makes me nervous.
I know that question can be scary. But here's the key. Do your research. Use websites like Glassdoor or Salary.com to get a sense of the average salary range for investment advisors in your area and with your level of experience.
Yeah, the RoleCatcher Guide also has some good tips on salary negotiation. And it really emphasizes the importance of knowing your worth.
That's so important. Once you have a good understanding of the market rate, you can confidently state your expectations. But be prepared to back up your number. Highlight your relevant skills and experience, and emphasize how you're going to bring value to the firm.
So it's not just about throwing out a number. It's about making a case for why you deserve that salary. You're basically selling yourself as a valuable asset to the company.
Exactly. And remember, salary is just one piece of the compensation puzzle. Don't be afraid to negotiate for other things too, like vacation time, professional development opportunities, or even a flexible work schedule.
That's a great point. It's all about finding a package that works for both you and the employer. All right, here's a question that often comes up towards the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for me? This is your chance to show that you're curious, engaged, and that you've been paying attention.
It's also your chance to gather more information about the role and the company culture to see if it's really the right fit for you.
So what are some good questions to ask that will impress the interviewer and give you some valuable insights?
Well, you want to ask questions that show you're thinking strategically and that you're genuinely interested in the role and the company. For example, you could ask, what are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities facing the firm right now?
I like that. It shows you're thinking about the big picture. What about something more specific to the investment advisor role?
You could ask about their approach to client relationships. Like, how does the firm empower its advisors to build strong, long-lasting relationships with clients? Or, what kind of professional development opportunities are there for advisors who want to grow their expertise?
Those are great questions. They show that you're serious about the job and committed to your professional growth. What about the team dynamic? What kind of question could you ask to get a sense of that?
You could say something like, can you tell me a bit about the team I'd be working with? What are their strengths and areas of expertise? This shows that you're interested in collaboration and teamwork, which are essential in this field.
You're right. It's definitely a team sport. And what about company culture? Are there any good questions to ask about that?
Yeah, you could ask something like, what are some of the core values that drive the company's culture? Or what's the work-life balance like for investment advisors at the firm?
Those are great questions to get a sense of what it's really like to work there.
Exactly. Remember, you're not just interviewing them, they're interviewing you too. It's a two-way street.
I love that perspective. It takes some of the pressure off and makes it feel more like a conversation. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about understanding the role, navigating those tricky behavioral questions, and even gotten some insights into salary negotiation and company culture. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, authenticity. It seems like that's a really important quality to have in this profession.
It really is. In a field that's built on trust and relationships, being genuine is absolutely essential. Clients can tell when someone's not being authentic, and it erodes their trust.
That makes sense. So how do you convey that authenticity in an interview setting? Do you have any tips for letting your true self shine through.
Well, I think it starts with preparation. The more comfortable you are with the material, the more relaxed and confident you'll be. And that confidence will come across as authenticity. So use those RoleCatcher resources, practice your answers, and walk into that interview feeling prepared and empowered.
Yeah, it's like they say, chance favors the prepared mind. The more you practice, the more natural and authentic your responses will become. And that authenticity will be contagious. It'll make a great impression on the interviewer.
You got it. And don't be afraid to let your personality shine through, too. Share a story that highlights your passion for finance or your commitment to helping others. Let them see the real you, the person behind the resume.
That's great advice. It's about finding that balance between being professional and being yourself. Show off your expertise, but don't be afraid to let your enthusiasm and your passion for the work shine through, too.
Exactly. And one last tip. Don't forget to follow up after the interview. Send a thank you note expressing your gratitude for their time and reiterating your interest in the position. It's a small gesture, but it can go a long way.
It shows that you're thoughtful and appreciative, which are great qualities to have in any job. All right, I think we've covered it all. We've given you the knowledge, the strategies, and the AI-powered tools to ace those interviews and launch a successful and rewarding career as an investment advisor.
You got this.
And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher for even more career guidance, interview prep resources, and those awesome AI-powered tools that will help you every step of the way. Good luck on your journey to becoming a financial rock star.
See you next time for part 2 of this deep dive.
Right, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
So where were we?
Oh, right, we were talking about good questions to ask at the end of an interview to show that you're really thinking about the role in the company.
Right, like you could ask about their investment philosophy.
Ooh, that's a good one. What would that sound like?
Well, you could ask something like, what is the firm's overall investment philosophy? And how does that translate into specific investment strategies for clients?
Okay, that makes sense. It shows you're interested in how they approach investing as a whole. What about their approach to technology? That seems like a pretty important thing these days.
Yeah, for sure. You could ask, how does the firm leverage technology to enhance the client experience and improve investment outcomes?
I like that. It shows you're thinking about the future of the industry and how technology is playing a role. Okay, I have one more question that I'm always curious about. What's the best way to get feedback during the interview process? Like, how can I know if I'm on the right track?
That's a great question, and it shows that you're really invested in the process. You can definitely ask for feedback directly. You could say something like, is there anything else I can share about my qualifications that would be helpful for you? Or is there anything about my background or experience that you would like to hear more about?
Those are great tips. It shows you're open to feedback and eager to learn. Okay, so we've talked a lot about interview questions and how to answer them. But I want to go back to something we touched on earlier, RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview practice tool. Can you walk me through how it works?
Sure. It's super easy to use. You just choose from a library of common interview questions, record your answers, and then the AI will analyze your responses. It gives you feedback on your content, your delivery, and even your body language.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a personal coach right there in your pocket.
Exactly. And the feedback is super specific and actionable, so you can actually use it to improve your interview skills.
That's so cool. So it's not just about practicing your answers. It's about getting real-time feedback and making adjustments.
Exactly. And the AI gets smarter over time. The more you use it, the more personalized the feedback becomes.
That's incredible. I can't believe how advanced this technology is. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the role of an investment advisor. We've gone over some common interview questions, and we've even explored how AI can help you prepare for your interview. What are some key takeaways that you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first, I want to emphasize that preparation is key. The more you research the role, the company, and the industry, the more confident you'll feel going into the interview.
Makes sense.
And second, don't be afraid to be yourself. Let your personality and your passion for finance shine through. People want to work with someone they like and trust.
That's so true. Skills and experience are important, but at the end of the day, it's all about connecting with people on a human level.
Exactly. And finally, don't underestimate the power of technology. Tools like RoleCatcher can give you a real edge in the job search process.
I totally agree. RoleCatcher is an amazing resource for anyone who's looking to break into the finance industry or even just level up their career.
And I think that's a great place to wrap up for today.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll see you next time for the final part of this deep dive. So those are some great questions to ask at the end of the interview.
Yeah, those are really good. They show that you're curious and that you've been paying attention. Okay, I think we've covered pretty much everything you need to know to ace that investment advisor interview.
I think so too.
We've talked about the role, the skills, the interview questions, even salary negotiation.
Oh, and don't forget about those awesome AI-powered tools from RoleCatcher.
Right, RoleCatcher can really help you stand out from the crowd.
It can analyze your resume, give you personalized feedback on your answers, even help you practice your delivery.
It's like having a whole team of career coaches in your pocket.
Exactly.
So what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's about to go on an interview for an investment advisor role?
That's a tough one. I think the most important thing is to be authentic. Show the interviewer that you're passionate about finance and that you genuinely care about helping people achieve their financial goals.
I love that. Skills and experience are important, but at the end of the day, people hire people they like and trust.
That's so true. So relax, be yourself, and let your enthusiasm shine through.
Great advice. Well, I think that's a wrap for our deep dive on investment advisor interview prep.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you. And to all of you listening, good luck on your job search. We're here to support you every step of the way.
We believe in you.
All right, that's it for today. See you next time for another deep dive.